streaming.
Miss Minutes, dude. My last note on here is, and I quote, "Miss Minutes weird."
Hang on, I have what? I have the same thing actually. Hang
Also,
on, where
Looney
is
Tunes
it?
is also one of my notes.
Dude, I literally have the note minutes weird. That's my whole. We're streaming now.
Awesome. What's up, chat?
Hi,
How's
guys.
everyone? Um, we're gonna be talking about the episode 3 of Loki Season 2.
What an episode.
Um, yeah, it was interesting. I got thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts, kind of overall, on like the hype surrounding the show
Because you've kind of
and social
changed
media and
perspective since episode 2, right?
I've changed a little bit, so I'll get into that later. We'll get into our first overall kind of impressions, and we'll kind of go through, break the episode down a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
talk about stuff. Yeah, Caleb, what did you think?
Just as far as a non-spoiler review, I think you and I are the only people watching this show. Do you think I'm right about that? Is that kind of the vibe you're getting?
It's trending on Twitter right now. That's the thing.
Really?
So here's the vibe that I get. I get the vibe that a lot of people watched episode 1. I don't get the vibe that a lot of people watched episode 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that was sitting on me. See, originally we did that stream, and I was mixed on episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then I sat on it through the week, and there was no buzz online, no theories, no anything. And I'm gonna be honest, I started to dislike it more. I
Mm-hmm.
started to dislike it a lot more. And then I was scrolling through TikTok, and I started getting clips from like Thor 1 and Avengers 1. And I was like, oh, let me go watch those. So I went and watched some old Marvel stuff. And it kind of made me hate modern Marvel a little bit more because it's so good.
Yeah.
Dude, even Thor 1, that's not usually considered to be like the greatest Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It's like outstanding compared to this crap.
Yeah, I spent the last hour watching parts of Avengers and Iron Man,
Nice.
just to catch
Nice.
myself up on some of that. I mean, Avengers, there's some great writing. The CGI didn't age very well, but the writing is great, and Iron Man is like a masterpiece. And now we're here to talk about Loki Season 2, Episode 3.
I think
So,
overall, my non-spoiler is
mhm.
I liked it more than episode 2, and here's the reason why. Because I have a lot of problems with this episode. There were some things I liked, but there were some things that I didn't
Yeah,
like.
tell me
The reason
why.
why I liked it more than episode 2 is because I feel like we're gonna get more buzz and interaction with the fandom online after this than after 2. Because 2 was pretty bland looking back on it. And maybe I'll look back on this and say this is pretty bland. I wouldn't say it's bland.
I wouldn't say
Now,
number 2 is bad. What makes you say that episode 2 is bland?
I sat on it and I'm kind of getting sick of the whole TVA. I'm kind of getting sick of the characters in the TVA. It all is it's kind of warping together for me. The more
Sure.
I've sat on it, I've been like, man, like this is kind of the same crap, just over and over.
But in
Um,
fairness, episode 1 was almost all about the TVA, and that one wasn't bland.
yeah. Now you do make a good point. Now, as far as in regard to episode 1, um, there were some elements of it that I liked that I think were intriguing.
Then
And
again,
that's what
episode 1 was actually fine, so that's
Yeah,
probably
episode
part of
1 was
it.
actually decent. So far, episode 1 is the best out of the show.
Yeah,
Easy.
easy.
Um, but yeah, this is a different episode than the other two.
I hated it.
I would,
I hated
yeah,
it. This is awful.
I don't hate it. I don't think it's great. I'm not at the point where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna throw in the towel with Marvel. Everything's over. I don't think it's that bad. It's not like walking out of Black Widow bad, but it's they made some weird decisions.
It's
I'm
very
not gonna lie.
it's very terrible. So, let's go through it. My note page is just filled with notes. So my first note is actually just episode 2 is bad. I can't remember why I wrote that, but that's what I wrote. And then yeah, we enter back with Renslayer, now named Ravonna. I can't remember where she got the name Ravonna, but that's her name now. and she's going back in old times, and she was sent by He Who Remains, more specifically Miss Minutes, operating under He Who Remains' old orders before he was killed, to go basically train up this young version of Kang, who's an inventor guy, and give him a TVA guidebook so that he can. It's unclear, but it looks like so that he can take over the TVA. So my very first question is, He Who Remains, his whole thing was that he was trying to prevent a multiversal war by his other selves. Why is he now trying to get his other self to take over the TVA, which is what he was trying to avoid in the first place?
Yeah, that is something that I would hope would be explained later. At this point, it's kind of hard to hope for that. But I mean,
Because that doesn't make any sense right now.
I didn't like it because I've I've never been a huge fan of the time paradox.
Time paradox.
Where like you have a story where it ends this way, but
Oh
then
yeah, 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 yeah.
something back, and it's just this loop.
It's like the
There's one or two
Terminator.
stories. It's like one story, one show in particular that does it, but they do it differently, and I like it. But other than that, I've never been a huge fan of that. So overall, I was like, it's weird. It also doesn't make too much sense. Hopefully, I was just expecting them to explain it, like maybe. Um, so that's what I kind of went with. But
It's just
yeah,
weird
now that
that
he
they're
explained
under his orders, and I think from his perspective, like, he was warning them like, hey, all these other people are going to come out, and I was trying to prevent a multiversal war. So I was wondering, wouldn't they sort of want to be on orders to kill previous versions of him? And I did have sort of the same thing as far as the paradox thing. My brain, I don't think it's even worth thinking about the implications of how he got to where he was if all these different versions are now alive. I think that's probably not worth thinking about because I don't think it's going to make sense.
See, what I feel like they're doing, I have this in my notes, is it kind of feels like they're changing Kang's backstory from the comics. But it's weird. I'm like, okay, are they trying to make this guy the new Kang? Is it
Hmm.
going to be someone else?
Yeah.
I don't know. I I yeah. Kang's backstory in the comic is really cool. How he's like way in the future and then he goes back and does all this stuff. I love that. That's awesome. This I'm not gonna crap on it until I see them complete it.
Sure.
But as of right now, I think it's not as good as the comic book version.
And probably it looks like season 2 of Loki is going to be the last season we get, and probably the only like real Kang backstory stuff we're going to get. Hopefully it'll round out. So if it doesn't make sense by the end of this season, I don't think it's going to be making sense anytime soon. Um
Yeah.
at all. Okay, so two things that I liked, two of the only things that I liked, which I wrote down right away. Again, I really liked the camera and the lighting and the color grading. I thought it was pretty great, and it's fun to watch for the most part. Until like the last half of the episode, and then it was boring. And I also really like the Miss Minutes animation. I really like the way they had her like walk around, and she was like stepping on air, and then you could see like sometimes she would go up a little higher, and her eyes and her mouth moved pretty in just a like a fun way to watch. I don't know. I really liked the animation for her.
1 second. Let's pause.
Sure.
Sorry. Um, just leave it like
Loki.
this, and then I'll get it once I'm done. All right, cool.
Nice.
Um, yeah, Miss Minutes. I have my thoughts on Miss Minutes
Yep.
in this episode.
Moving on.
So moving on, they go
Oh
back
no,
in
have you
time.
been super quiet this whole time?
I don't know, have I?
Maybe. Oh
I have my
man.
thing up pretty loud.
Yeah, don't turn you up. It would have been on my end. Give me just a
Ah,
moment to find out. Sorry, anyone listening to this stream, this is gonna sound a little bit terrible. Do. Give me just a couple seconds. Boo
been
boo
on
boo
my
boo.
end. Yep. Way in the future. I'm not,
Sure.
but as of right now,
Okay. It should probably be fine. Sorry about that.
we good?
I think we're fine. Okay, that'll be weird. Anyway, yeah, Miss Minute's thoughts. So basically,
Mm.
we end up in this situation where Renslayer went forward 25 years to catch up with a Jonathan Majors Kang who has spent all of his time learning from the book that she dropped off earlier. Meanwhile, Loki and Mobius somehow tracked this, and so they're after him as well, or more specifically, her and Miss Minutes, because they feel Miss Minutes can help fix the time loom thing that's going awry. And also Sylvie's there for some reason, and we don't know how she got there or how she knows that they're there. And I'm gonna have to ask questions about her motivation, but all of them are there and they're after this Kang guy. So tell me what you thought about Jonathan Majors and or anything.
Jonathan Majors. So I actually like Jonathan Majors as an actor. I'm partially biased because I really liked Creed 3 and he's really good in Creed 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um I thought he was good. I thought the role he was playing, the way it was a little weird. At times it felt a bit much
It was
just with how
try
much
hard.
he was chopping his words. But like he's still a good actor and I still really like watching him act. So I didn't really have any problem with Majors overall. When they go to this was it 19 or 1890 something? I don't know.
I don't know.
Um I really liked the atmosphere at first. I was really enjoying it. Having a lot of fun with that. Um as the episode goes on, they go overboard with things and I don't like it. It's not terrible, but I'll get into that later when we get to that section. Um so when Loki and Mobius show up, they're like at this circus or this fair or something.
Yeah.
And they're walking around and they have this part where they're looking at this some attraction that's there and there's these three pillars and it's you got
Oh yeah,
Thor,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Odin, and Balder. First things first, I love the Balder reference. Balder's really cool, especially for those of you that have played God of War.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Balder's awesome in that game. So I like the Balder reference. It'd be cool if we actually get to see him and that he, kind of lives up to his reputation. Marvel, don't screw that up. Um,
Oh, they
so
will.
that was cool. I liked that. And then as the scene goes on, I was really liking it, and I was like, okay, I could see them doing something serious. And then Loki goes, Thor's not that tall, and walks off. Bro, can we stop with the MCU humor? There's they have good moments going, and then in the MCU, and then it just gets undercut by some quip. And I'm getting really annoyed with it. I'm probably overreacting for this scene. It's probably not that bad.
I
I
actually
probably need to go
thought,
back and rewatch
yeah, I thought that
but
was mostly fine. It felt pretty in character and not necessarily like it had to be a joke. I did have a problem with the next scene where they come out, or was it this scene where they come out with like the candy and they're just like wasting time? They're just eating on their way. And it was like we just came off of the scene where they're desperately like, hey, if we don't fix this right now, the entire TVA is gonna collapse. And then they're just like strolling around with candy corn or whatever.
that felt like a scene that was more in there just for the buddy cop aspect.
Yeah,
That
and
didn't
it's
really feel like it
stupid.
served anything. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll be honest, that's the scene where I pulled out my phone and checked Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So if that says anything about it. So we got the scene where they go in and Jonathan Majors, Kang, or he's now called Mr. Timely.
Can I talk about
Um,
Jonathan Major's performance?
yeah, go for it.
Because I hated it. I thought this was like the worst thing ever This is the most cringe thing I've ever seen. This is the third bad role for him in a row with the MCU. He was ridiculous in the first season. In Ant-Man Quantumania, he was just stupid. He like asks people if he's killed them yet, and like obviously they would have no idea. They're just standing in front of him alive, and he's like, "Oh, have I killed you yet?" And he was
Are you
weird.
saying
And
you
then
more
this
don't
one,
like?
he's just completely try hard. He's stammering every word. He's completely ridiculous. I couldn't watch him without laughing. And I can't
Are
believe
you
that we're gonna get like this is supposed to be Thanos. What am I watching right now?
are you saying you more didn't like the character he was portraying, or you just don't like him as an actor? I'm kind of curious.
I haven't seen him in a good role yet. So
Okay, I would say go watch Creed 3. That really shows like the extent of his acting. He's actually really good.
I
I
mean,
would
you can
say,
have good times as an actor, but this was awful. This was unbearable.
yeah, I didn't really blame it on him as much as I blamed it on like the character that was supposed to be. Um, I wouldn't say this is like his best performance that I've ever seen. Um,
It was the
but
worst. It was awful. I couldn't tolerate it. Cringe, try hard, leave me alone, stop it, go away.
you sound like I got a quick question. You sound like you hate this as much as like you hate like Wakanda Forever. I'm curious, is it on that level?
Not quite Wakanda Forever.
Okay,
I
okay,
hate it
fair.
about as much as I hate Quantumania.
Interesting. That's weird for me because I think Quantum Mania is the worst Marvel movie that's ever been
I
created.
would say Quantumania is probably worse, but I hate this about as much.
Interesting, interesting. Anyways, so the scene goes on and he's showing this big thing that's like the original time loom or whatever. It kind of looks like the time loom, and it like zaps all this electricity and stuff, and so then everyone wants to go buy it because the lightning cool. I don't know.
That was so
Um,
weird. One guy like offers him like, "Hey, can I like start production?" And he's like, "No, but you can buy it." And they start a random bidding war, and then this one guy wins. I couldn't make sense of what he was trying to do.
it sounds as the episode went on, it sounded almost like he was just kind of like with each of his inventions, he's just kind of like manipulating people to get a bunch of money out of it, which is what it sounded like he was kind of trying to do there. I don't know, but I feel like if that's the case, you could get more money by letting the guy
Yeah.
do production. I don't know. It's weird. I don't understand why he's doing that, but
He like
yeah.
turns down a deal to start producing these things because everyone's really impressed, and he's like, "No, I don't have partners. We're not going to produce these things on mass scale. I'm not going to give out a patent even though it clearly worked." And like everyone was super impressed, and then people just start bidding on it randomly, and he's like, "Okay, $1,000, here you go." It made no sense to me. It felt very rushed. So one thing I noticed with this episode, Loki and Mobius are the only ones with a clear goal. They're trying to get Miss Minutes so that they can fix the TVA. So when Sylvie shows up, or Kang shows up, or Renslayer shows up, these are all people that don't matter to them. And so, like, I'm able to follow them logically. I have no idea what Renslayer's really up to. I don't know what she's trying to do exactly with Kang. I don't know what Sylvie's doing. She's the most confusing person in this show to me so far. Anyway, I'll stop ranting. Carry on. I'm sorry.
Um yeah, so basically Renslayer's there, or Ravonna, and she starts trying to talk to him, and then Loki and Mobius start trying to talk to him. I did like the scene where Loki like teleports the dude into the cage. That was fun.
Sure.
Like the more we see him use his powers, the better. Instead of like freaking season 1 where he does absolutely nothing with his powers.
Yep.
So I like that. And then they kind of like chase him around outside, and like they're all trying to get his attention. And then the big dudes come out. The guy that uh he sold the time loom to,
Oh
that guy
yeah.
comes out, and
Oh
he's mad
yeah.
that it's like not working. And so then they start running around, and it's like the most
It's so
Looney Tunes thing
stupid.
I've ever seen.
They have like
Yeah,
this
it's just
stupid music going on in the background with xylophones and all this crap, and it's embarrassing.
yeah, it wasn't great, and yeah, it's just very Looney Tunes. Like especially the part where he runs into, I think it's like the Ferris wheel compartment where there's all these
Mm-hmm.
people. They run in, and then he crawls out. I was like, that's
Yeah.
dumb.
And then Sylvie
But
shows up just out of nowhere and is like, time to kill him. I don't know
yeah,
why. I don't know what's going on.
so yeah, as that goes on, Sylvie rolls up and just wants to kill him from absolutely nowhere. She's just there.
Uh-huh.
And so she and Loki kind of have this standoff where they're in the Ferris wheel thing. It's going up. Sylvie's on the end.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Timely's behind. Loki's in the center, and he's saying, "Hey, don't stop." Now, I'm gonna say this right here. I was watching that scene very closely because I was like, dude, if they make Loki super lame here, I might shut this off.
Yeah.
I was about done there. Then he did some cool stuff, and I was like, thank you,
It
whoever
was
put that in there.
fun. It was
It
fun.
was if he had just wimped out of that, I was about to be done. But he didn't. Thank goodness.
Sure.
He kept going. So yeah, you wanna let me look at my notes again. I'm trying to remember.
So, yeah, Sylvie just pops up and it's like, whatever. And then, yeah, and so Renslayer and Miss Minutes take Jonathan Majors takes them to like his small lab, and he's like showing her this chair. He's like, this is a really cool chair. And she's like, wow, this is pretty cool. And he's like, yeah, look at this chair. It's got a mini fridge and everything. She's like, cool chair,
Okay.
dude. And then,
My biggest problem with that is that this dude just got back from seeing Loki and Sylvie throw magic at each other.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like he should have some questions about it, but I guess he just assumes that that's normal.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that was weird.
It's a
He
little weird, yeah. Then Renslayer and Miss Minutes are like, listen, Loki, these two versions of Loki, they killed you. So let's get out of here so we can go do things. Again, what do they want to do with him? I don't actually know. I don't know if they want to put him back in place as He Who Remains, which makes zero sense. I don't know if they want him to take over the TVA, which makes no sense. I don't know what they want to do with him. But he's like, okay, let's go to this big lab. And so they go on this little boat, and he and Renslayer are having their little moment. And they have the weirdest, like, love triangle between Renslayer, Jonathan Majors, who's just weird, and Miss Minutes, who is like a sex robot now. And
So I liked when he and Ravona have this whole conversation,
mhm.
and then he ends up betraying her. He pushes her off the boat. I didn't mind that. I was like, okay, at least they're doing something different because it looked like they were just gonna sail off into the sunset, and it was just gonna go off. And I was like, that's cool. Then they did the whole Miss Minutes thing, and I was just a little weirded out. So Miss Minutes basically is saying like, oh, in another timeline, you didn't give me like a body, and like I could have been so much more. And then she just keeps on going on, and then basically it's like she's in love with him,
Uh-huh.
which
She's
was
like, you
weird.
never gave me a body. And then it looks like
Yeah,
she's like a little angry. And then with like this version of Kang, and again, like they're just throwing this guy into it, and he's like, oh, this is weird. But he's just rolling with it, and they're all pretending like he's like He Who Remains or someone that he's not. This is like a
yeah,
different guy with a completely different personality, with different life experience. They act like they know him, and they have no reason
mhm.
to.
Yeah. It's a little weird. And so yeah, she just like confesses that she's in love with him or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then he shuts her off with the pad thing.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that didn't make sense is that they have this whole like payoff with "I don't do partners," and he just throws off Renslayer, and this Miss Minutes like it sent like basically you can be partners with him as long as you don't use the word partners. Then you're bad. But Miss Minutes goes up and she tells him all about how they were great, like, people who worked together and they did great things together. But she doesn't use the word partners, so she's fine. She doesn't get booted off like Renslayer does.
Yeah.
Dude, this episode, it's bad. It's really bad. And then Renslayer, she pops up out of nowhere. And then Mobius and Loki pop up out of nowhere. And I was like, okay, time for Sylvie to pop up at some point. And Renslayer starts ranting about her life and gives this giant monologue about how she was never thanked and her life was taken from her. And she ran the TVA at the expense of her humanity and how she had to clean up Mobius's messes, and none of it made any sense. I couldn't tell what they were trying to tell me. I don't know why she was doing this. I don't know what the purpose of this was. I don't know what her motivation is. Oh.
Yeah. So for me, it was weird. So Renslayer's got like the original pruning stick or whatever, because apparently Mr. Timely's created that.
Oh yeah.
And so she's all mad at him. She shows up, she's all mad at him, and she's holding it up in his face. And then Loki and Mobius show up. They're like, oh, don't kill him. We need him. So they kind of have this face off. Then Sylvie just shows up and just knocks. This scene was weird. So she knocks everyone down with this massive blast of Loki magic. And then she's about to, like, kill him. And Loki does absolutely nothing when he proved in the scene earlier that he can easily
Mm-hmm.
hold his own. I didn't know. It felt very, I don't know.
She spends
Felt
a
very,
solid 40 seconds just walking over to him and like just like kind of
and
pointing
just
his
no
knife
one
at him.
does anything.
Yeah, no, Loki's just on the ground just watching.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
stupid.
So that happens, and then she decides not to, because he gives this speech about how Mr. Timely gives this speech about how he's not the same person, that he has ideas, and she just, which I think, like, in that moment to say, like, oh, I'm not the same person as this other guy, like, that's a fair thing to say. I think, like, a lot of what he said was fair. It was just Sylvie's reaction.
Oh, did you freeze up? Yeah, you froze up. Shoot, hang on. Let me hang up and do 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 do. Hello? Are you there?
Hello.
There we are. Okay. Yeah, I thought that was mostly like I thought it was fine. It was just weird that Sylvie suddenly got a
Mhm.
heart. I don't
Yeah,
understand where that came from, and I don't understand what her motivation is. Dude, that Renslayer speech really bothered me. Like, if you listen to it, there's no through line. You can't tell what she's trying to say.
I'm gonna be honest. I was on my phone during that
Mm-hmm.
speech.
Yeah, no, it was awful.
I, which I did have a lot of distractions during this episode, so maybe that's kind of why I'm viewing it a little bit differently. I don't know. I feel like I'm viewing it more from the mindset of just I just don't care. I don't know what it is. At this point, I feel after watching so much like good Marvel and
Mm-hmm.
then coming back to this, I'm just like, it's apparently this is the best they can do. So,
So Loki and Mobius, who have the only clear motivations, are like, "Cool, let's take this guy and we're gonna go try and fix this." And they take off because that makes sense. And then the only part of the episode that I actually liked was what's her name? Sylvie kicks Renslayer back to He Who Remains. I don't know why. I can't remember why. I don't know what was going on. But I really liked that shot where he's dead in the seat and everything's falling around and
yeah.
it looks like they're gonna
I'm
do
not
something. So
Yeah, that final scene kind of saved the episode for me, because I was like, okay, I feel like the community can kind of. I feel like we'll see more theories than we did off of episode 2, because episode 2 was just ended in a way where there's like there's no way the community's going to engage after this. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter, so it's like, okay, at least people are engaging after this episode. Because Marvel's more at the point now where people just don't make theories anymore. It kind of hit where Star Wars has hit, where Star Wars has just been so bad that people just weren't making theories, and it was now the dialogue was now just, oh, I wonder how bad Star Wars is going to be this time. The only time that's ever changed has been Ahsoka. I saw a ton of theories for Ahsoka, and it was fun, even though like there was still the dialogue over like whether or not it was bad. It brought up a lot of the theories and discussion among fans, and Loki, Marvel really needs to do that because I'm not seeing a lot of it. And in order to get people excited for like the next Avengers movie, is to get them talking, give them stuff that really gets the community, going back and forth on theories. So I'm hoping after this episode, maybe we'll see a little bit more of that. I don't know. Um,
This was awful. This was the worst. This was rivaling. It could have been worse than any given episode in season 1. Jonathan Majors' performance sucked. I I hated it. It was so
I'm gonna
bad.
disagree with that. I don't think he was bad. I think he was given a bad character.
We're talking about the same thing. It sucked. This is supposed to be the next Avengers level threat, and he's ridiculous. I do think that the acting was terrible. Like his pauses, he literally paused like 3 seconds in between each word, and it was ridiculous. I can't take him seriously. I don't know anyone who does.
Yeah, I feel like that's more what he was told to do, but I don't think
Sure. Sure, it
I've
sucked
seen
either
him
way.
act.
I don't know.
I've seen him act. I don't think he would go and do that. Maybe he did. I don't freaking know. But I'm just assuming that like director probably had him do that. I don't know for sure. But yeah, I'm not at the point where I'm like, dude, this is like the worst thing I've ever seen and it makes me want to just throw away Marvel and never go to the theater ever again. But like I don't think I think if this is the mid season point, I'm not super pumped for the rest of this
Yeah,
show.
dude, we're
Like
halfway
I said
through
on Twitter,
already.
I was like,
Wow.
I hope they build this up, bro. I really hope they do. Because right now it's it's bland, like I said.
Awful. It's awful. It's the worst thing. It's not the worst thing, but it's
Yeah.
pretty close.
Marvel's made a lot of worse stuff than this, but this isn't.
Yeah,
It's not fantastic. It's a little bit like it's a little bit of a better show than what a lot of other stuff that they've put out has been. Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That was
sure.
bad. I'm not a fan of that show at all. But
Yep.
I don't.
So that's our thoughts on Loki season 2 episode 3. Don't watch it. It's
Yeah,
dude, I've heard that there's a lot of buzz around the last couple of episodes because that's what they didn't show people who have watched the first four. Um so apparently some stuff is supposed to happen that actually means something in the last couple of episodes, but looking at it right now, yeah. For me, the whole community, I try not to like, I don't know, monitor the whole Marvel community that closely. I have seen a couple of videos on like fan theories for later in the season, but I think New Rockstars did one or two, but
yeah,
yeah. I try not to engage because I don't know. I'm just trying to look at this and tell what the quality is, and it's not good. It's not good.
yeah. I'm looking at that too, but I also think I'm also looking at this more as a Marvel needs to get their crap together,
Mm-hmm.
and there are certain things that they need to do to pull people back in. And I'm really that's one reason why I monitor why like I get into the community because I want to see you want to see the state of things. And I wonder like it's not that hard to like if you work at Marvel, it's not that hard to go on social media and figure out what people's general attitude is towards the brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well,
really not that hard.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, they made the decision to make Kang a long-term threat based on people online, and I don't think that was like, I'm not sure if that's a good representation of how
No,
people really felt.
I'm talking about currently with how pissed off people are that Marvel keeps on making mid content. It's not that hard to get online and realize that's how people feel about it. So,
Maybe. I mean,
I
there's such a
even
small
the thing
percentage of people even watching this anyway.
even the thing is like Kang's an awesome villain. That's the thing. I don't have a problem with him going and be like, "Oh, people want Kang. Let's do Kang." You just have to do him well. It's not that hard. You have comics to pull from where he's been amazing. So far, Lego Marvel Superheroes 2 did it better.
I love that game. That's a great game.
And I'm speaking straight facts right now. You know I am.
Yeah,
They did a better Kang than what we've seen so far in the
there's
MCU.
no competition. That's a great game.
So, look, I don't have a problem with them being like, "Oh, people want Kang. Just do." I'm like, about just ate it. Do Kang well. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, and they've had 3 shots at it, man. They've had 3
Yeah.
shots. Thanos only got one, and he killed it right out of the gate. I don't.
Yeah.
No, well, that's not true because he showed up in Endgame and he was terrible in Endgame. But you know, uh, his first impressions were pretty good. Anyway,
He was iconic though in Endgame. We got a lot of memes from it, and the way the
um,
community received
we
him.
got
Like
memes
Josh
out of
Brolin was
it.
great.
I think I think Infinity War Thanos was iconic. I wouldn't say Endgame Thanos is iconic. I will rip this universe to its last atom. I mean, maybe. Depends on
No,
what
it
you
was.
mean by iconic. Like, there
It
were
was.
lots of memes. I don't think anyone really liked it.
Here's what. No, a lot of people liked it.
Oh, they're
Infinity War was
stupid.
more iconic by far. Endgame Thanos was maybe not as iconic, but you got like the line, where did that bring you back to me? Like that's been
Again, lots of memes. I'm not sure if that equates to people liking it.
normally most memes that stick around for that well either come from something that's usually good or Morbius.
I mean, Endgame was like the highest grossing film of all time. So
hmm
there's
Yeah.
that.
At the time, it was well received. I don't know that Endgame has necessarily aged well.
Oh,
It
it's
has not
aged
aged well for
terribly.
me.
Yeah, no.
Um, but at the time, people loved it. I remember talking to people after the theater, going to see that. I think I went to see that movie 3 times.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I think about it, because I went with different people that were going to see it, and I know everyone loved it. I know everyone loved it when Thanos thunder punched Captain Marvel, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I know of people
yeah.
who like initially thought it was like pretty good to pretty great and
Mhm.
now think it's like the worst Avengers movie and it was terrible
Oh
and
yeah.
think that it's like the worse than The Rise of Skywalker. So there's a broad, it
That's
hasn't aged very
that's a
well.
bold statement because the
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker is awful.
Yeah. Well,
I can talk for hours about how bad that movie is.
yeah. Well, maybe someday. Maybe when I watch it, we'll have to go through it.
Yeah, well, we gotta do that Last Jedi watch party first.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Yeah,
well, that's my thoughts. I'm sorry, I came across as very abrasive for this episode because I hated it. I thought it was awful.
yeah,
Don't watch it.
yeah. It's not fantastic. Hopefully, fingers crossed the show gets better.
Even a little bit better. Like season 2, episode 1. Just do that. Do that. Maintain that quality. Give us Tom
Yeah,
Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. Kick everyone else out. Kick Renslayer out. Kick Sylvie out.
I will say the scene. I'm gonna be honest. I've always hated Renslayer
Uh
just
huh.
from the get go. I hate her so much, and it was a little satisfying to see Sylvie beat her up a little.
Yeah. Dude, you should
I,
re-listen to our monologue. It made no sense. I couldn't tell what they
I'll
were.
have to rewatch some stuff. I had a lot of distractions during this episode,
Mm-hmm.
and then there were some times where I just went to Instagram because I was bored with the
Yeah.
popcorn scene, which maybe is why I don't hate it as much, just because like I was disconnected.
Well,
I'll
doesn't
be
that count as
watching.
boring then? Wouldn't you say that it's more boring than the second episode?
Maybe I need to rewatch it, but another thing is the way that final shot, the way it ended, that piqued my interest. I was like, okay, cool. I want to see what they do from here.
Sure. Sure.
So episode 2 did not give that to me. By the end of episode 2, I was like, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna go about my day. That I'm like, okay, we can go somewhere interesting. Let's see what they do.
They haven't been doing any post-credit scenes since episode 1, have they?
No, they haven't.
It feels like they just don't have anything to give us. I heard someone sort of narrow it down, and it is true that they just, for like the entire first half, first 3 quarters of episode 2, they're literally just interrogating this random guy to try to find Sylvie. And it's interesting that like almost everything that happens in the last 5 minutes with the giant TVA battle with the one general girl, which they haven't done anything with. I really thought they were. I thought they were gonna go to her and like try and get some information from her, and they've just like forgotten that that character existed, which is really sad because I remember her and whoever that other guy was, they were the people that we were the most interested in basically by the end of season or episode 1, and they just forgot. They dropped
Mhm.
all threads. I don't know what they're doing.
They have done that, and it's not fun. I wish they would keep it going. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see where this goes. This is one thing that I found was interesting. Now that you bring it up, that like stuff only happens in like the last 5 minutes. I do wonder if they're trying to hit a 50-minute quota.
Hmm.
And now this is interesting because the amount of people that complain in both Mandalorian and Ahsoka that the episodes are like that are only like 30 minutes. They're like, "Oh, the episodes are too short." Let me ask you, would you rather them go 50 minutes like this and just fill it with dialogue and just bull crap?
Well, in fairness, lots of people would argue that that's what it is, but it is true that I feel like this was padded, especially with Jonathan Majors saying taking 20 seconds for every sentence he delivers. It felt like
Yeah,
it took ages.
a lot of this could be wrapped up a lot faster,
Yeah.
and you can make room for a lot more storytelling. Um, but I do think it is interesting because just fans of Star Wars and Marvel are so special, and we love them all. But they complain about the too short episodes that only get done what they need to get done, and then it's like when you see an episode that takes that and then just
He froze out again, guys. Give me a second. Hello, Internet. Welcome to YouTube.
where did I leave off?
I don't know. You were talking about Marvel fans. I don't think you like them
Okay,
very much.
so Marvel fans and Star Wars fans, gotta love them. They're great, aren't they? I just think it's interesting. We see that like an episode of The Mandalorian that's like 30 minutes long. It only gets done what it needs to get done. Like in season 2, one of the best episodes is one of the shortest episodes there. It's awesome, but it only does what it needs to do. And now that everyone complained about that, now you can see in Loki, they take like, probably like 20 minutes of actual plot happens. And then like, all right, here's 30 minutes of nothing. That there's a reason why some episodes are shorter than others in other shows that are actually good because they don't want to overdo it.
To be honest, I know of someone who was able to cut the plot of an Ahsoka episode down to like 2 minutes.
Which
With
one?
I can't remember. I'll have to
Was it
get
one of
you
the
some
first
of
three?
the. No, it was one of the last 3, I think.
Interesting. I'll be honest, last 2 episodes of Ahsoka didn't age too well for me. I think I actually got a hot take about this show. I think it would have been better animated, but
Probably. I don't know.
apparently that's what they were gonna do. Apparently there's a lot of stuff is coming out where there's a lot of problems with like fight scenes. They shot it on I forget what that's called, the stagecraft. They shot it on stagecraft, and one of the guys was like, "Yeah, we didn't have room to like move around." And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, come on.
You could
Because
tell too
Disney's
with
out
some
here
of
making
those fight
everyone shoot on
scenes.
stagecraft, and that's like, if you're gonna constrict your stunt coordinators so much, like, this
Yeah.
is Star Wars. It's supposed to be cool. I don't know. I think that it's gonna come out that with a lot of these problems, a lot of it comes down to just Disney being Disney, which is sad.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say because obviously, I mean, we were talking the other night about different creatives that Disney seems to trust completely, like Taika Waititi or
Mhm.
James Gunn. And it's always hard to tell the level of oversight that some of these people have on their craft. And obviously, it's going to differ from Lucasfilm to Marvel. So, uh,
Lucasfilm, they
yeah,
let Ryan Johnson do whatever he wanted to do, and I don't think they've ever done that since. Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, that's Loki. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Go watch immediately.
Oh
Would
yeah.
recommend. So
Yeah.
like and subscribe, all viewers,
Hopefully
please.
we'll have we got some good shows coming up, so hopefully we'll
Yay!
be able to make some more interesting content soon. So yeah,
Yeah, you're planning on watching Killer of the Flower Moon Saturday, probably?
hopefully.
Okay.
Hopefully.
I'm planning on hitting it next Thursday because I didn't want to drive an hour each way today. So,
Real quick,
mm-hmm.
Five Nights at Freddy's coming out next week.
Oh, okay. We should have
Super
plenty
pumped
to.
for that.
What day of the week?
I think Thursday.
Okay.
So super pumped for that. I've been a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan for a long time. So this movie better be good,
I'll
or
have
else
to.
I'm gonna get really pissed off.
Yeah, we'll have to
And
watch it and give you our
yeah,
thoughts.
after that movie comes out, you're either gonna have like me come up and be like super pumped and hype it up, or I'm just gonna rant for 30 minutes. So
And we're gonna have very
we're
different
gonna have to,
perspectives because I'm not a Five Nights at Freddy's person. So we'll have to
yeah,
talk
that'll
about
be
it.
interesting for someone that's never played the games to do that.
I
I'm very
played
curious.
like.
Well, you played VR for like 15 minutes.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. We'll catch you
Yeah,
guys next Thursday if we don't stream before then, which I imagine we probably will. So
yeah.
hopefully.
All right. See you later, guys.